Now ideally, of course, you just go ahead and order the exact value, but sometimes you either, and here are those capacitor leads I'm talking about. I'm going to save these because I can use them for splicing. Sometimes they either don't have the exact value, or you've got some caps on hand but not exactly what you need. And so there's certainly nothing wrong with doing this. I've got another order from Mauser coming in, but I think I'll just go ahead and use some of these ones that I've got to do this. So I'm going to solder these here. Just solder these two caps together. So now I've got one composite capacitor with the sum of the two values. So it's going to be 0.0057, which is pretty close to 0.006. And now I'm going to put it in to see where it connects to. It connects right here. It's going to bend back that old lead so that it's out of the way. And I'll cut this just a little bit shorter. Bend it into a U shape. Just crimp it on there. Looks like it's gonna stay okay, so I can solder it. Oh no. might have to I'm just gonna put it up here like this. Be difficult sometimes. Maybe I can lay it up on that. I'm just going to lay it up over there like that so it'll stay in place so I can do it. Apply a little bit of solder to the iron and then start applying it to the joint. And you don't want to just drop solder on something. You've got to actually apply it to the joint itself and make sure we got a good connection there. I might touch it up with a little more solder, and then I'm going to run the other end of this over to where it needs to go, which is right here. And make sure this doesn't bump up against anything that it shouldn't. There's that end is connected now, and I'm going to solder it. Now I've got that one. I'm going to touch this up with a little bit more on the tube socket end, just to improve it a little bit. So there are those solder joints. Now this is actually a ground power line ground connection for the old cap. So I'm going to just cut it, because what I've found is that I think I can just mount the caps, the electrolytics, directly to the tube socket terminals. Now I'm ready to replace the last cap in here, which is a 0.01. I've got some 0.0047s here, and I'm going to go ahead and use up these 0.0047s. And one of them, and I was guilty of not checking out the photo when I ordered it, and it's a printed circuit type, but it's 630 volts. So I'm going to see if I can pair it up with a regular type capacitor. I think what I can do is just do like this. I'm going to just combine it with a regular one. So we'll have our, in composite, we'll have a 0.01 capacitor. And there's the composite. cut this one out of here. And let's see where it looks like it goes right here. So here's the new one. This end on first. Make sure the entire joint is heated. And now I'll put on this end here. I'll let that cool. So that replaces all of the paper caps. Now what I'm going to do is to put on some of the electrolytics. I'm going to start by desoldering these red wires from off of here. And they weren't even very good solder joints. They're just sort of stuck on there. But now what I need to find is a circuit ground point that I can connect to, and I think that one exists. Looks like one exists up here. So let's see if I can put on this this cap, or I may be able to even find another place in the circuit to mount the cap. Maybe even, because I'm just looking to see where the best mounting place would be. You don't want to ground it to the chassis. It needs to be grounded to the circuit ground, because for safety reasons that's isolated from the chassis. And what I'm going to do here, to see if I can actually, looks like these, you can't actually go through the terminal, so I'm going to have to bend it in a U shape and bend it around, put it on there. I'm going to put this on here. You always got to make sure your polarity is correct. I'm going to solder the, whoops, maybe I can just hold it on there while I solder it. That'll work. It's going to hold it till it's cool. Just going to reposition this a little bit better. Let's see where it is here. Here it is. Go up a little bit. And I'm going to put the other lead over to a circuit ground terminal. And again, I'm going to have to just sort of bend it around the terminal to get it to stay on. Because then I think what I can do is to hook the other one up to that lead there. So I'm going to solder on this one now, the negative lead. Make sure we get a good connection. So there's one of the caps. Now I'm going to put the second one on. So I'm going to unsolder this old wire here. I'm going to put this back behind the chassis to help hold it. I'm first going to unsolder this old wire, which was barely soldered on there in the first place. I'm going to put the positive lead down here, so I'll have to crimp it around there again. And we'll see if they can see if it'll stay on there. I may have to hold it again. Okay, it's not gonna stay by itself, so I'll just have to hold it. It looks like there's a pretty good amount of solder on there. But once I get the other, lead soldered, then I'll touch it up again. I think what I'll do to make that connection is just to connect up right here with this lead. So I'll just make a little bit of a splice there on that one. Just bend it around there and crimp it. Solder these two together. And just position these so that the leads aren't touching anything they shouldn't be. Let's see if we can sort of bend these over a little bit. This can be kind of the tricky part of just putting new capacitors in, just making sure they physically fit. And I'm going to now resolder the other lead because it looked like it might have moved a little bit while the solder was cooling. I'm going to redo this one. I've now got one more electrolytic capacitor to remove, or to replace. So I'll remove this old red lead here. And I didn't solder it on very good again. And we'll connect up the final 47 microfarad cap. So again, I'm going to need to bend this lead here to get it around the terminal.